Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today we are driving towards the very popular tourist attraction of Queensland called Rainbow Beach. Rainbow Beach is located 239 kilometers from the Queensland state capital, Brisbane. Its name is derived from the rainbow-colored sand dunes surrounding the area. Approximately 70,000 tourists visit Rainbow Beach each year, and this area is only accessible during low tide. Let us now show you what they come to see.
This is Mudlow Rocks. They're getting a little bit worse. We've had a little bit of erosion over here the last couple of days. The wind, see it's starting to erode away a little bit. And once a bit more sand goes, more rock gets exposed and it gets quite deep like this here. And people try and sneak through unsuccessfully. This is what we call coffee rock. It's like a petrified vegetable humus. It's a mixture of sand and vegetation petrified. Very soft. See how kids scratch their names in it? It's very soft rock. They go for about 11 kilometres up. We're going to stop when we get right up towards the top end. That's where the most predominant brighter colours are. As I said earlier, one good thing about having a bit of rain around today, it does make the colours more vibrant when they're wet. There are oxides, so they stand out a lot brighter when they're wet. When wet. The most predominant colours are your reds and your yellows. They are all oxides. They are all minerals. About 600,000 years ago, a piece of coral grew and a bit of sand went up against it. 600,000 years later, you got Fraser Island. The same thing here. It is the last of your dumping points north for all your sand erosion. Gets dumped here.
That's why.
And grain by grain, they get carted up onto these cliffs by the thermals and the winds. Same as the coloured sands. These are minerals that have washed out of rivers and creeks down in New South Wales, around about the Blue Mountains area. Some areas are increasing in size, some decreasing a little bit, but others, so it would never decrease too much because Rainbow Beach hasn't moved, you know what I mean? It would just erode away into the sea if it was decreasing back, but it's a huge catchment area here. This big bay here is called Wide Bay. It was named by Captain Cook in 1770. You've got two areas. You've got Wide Bay, the region, which takes in Bundaberg, Hervey Bay, all the way down to here's the area, and the Wide Bay, the bay. This is the actual bay that was named by Captain Cook. These cliffs along here might look like rock, but they're all sand. You'll see avalanches all the way along. Once you get the heavy winds and the rains, they undermine some of the trees and they do come crashing down. It does get quite crusty to touch it, as you'll see shortly. We're going to feel it. This bus coming along here, these are some of the tour operators out of Noosa Heads. You can drive all the way to Rainbow on the beach without touching the bitumen from the Sunshine Coast. You can get up here without touching the bitumen at all, if you have a four-wheel drive. But all these vehicles, they go over the pits from Queensland Transport and get inspected every 6 months. Not 12 months, every 6 months. It is definitely not good for them. They do rust away. If you don't look after them, they do rust away very quickly. The main thing you have to look after is anything that gets hot, especially your brakes. Anything that gets hot attracts rust. Brakes on these vehicles, probably the rear, because as you drive along it gets thrown to the back wheels. All your hubs and brakes have to be replaced every 12 months. Front ones you get a couple of years out of. This is a little bit different from when you were here last time. You'll see a stop sign over here. This is known as Middle Rock. It's not a bad fishing spot in town. Now, you can drive up to this point from town for free. If you go past this point, you do need a vehicle permit, as it says over here. You've got to pay to drive on the beaches over here now. And water temperature here is just that little bit warmer, and it just seems perfect. Not only the whales, but for most of your fin varieties of fish, like your mackerel, your tailor, all your whiting, your mullet. This is their breeding grounds in southeast Queensland. Not only just the fish, also a lot of your sharks. You get your grey nurse, your bronze whaler, your tiger sharks. All that's their breeding grounds around here. Where you get your fish, of course, you get your predators. Whales, they migrate from Antarctica. There's about 13,000 of them now, leave Antarctica and they migrate up here to give birth to their young. They also bring up their 1-year-olds from last year. They haven't got enough fat on them to last a winter in Antarctica again, the 1-year-olds. They need to get a bit bigger and a bit fatter, and to put up with the cold waters down there. So they all migrate up through here. They break off actually into 3 pods. One comes up the east coast here, another one goes up the west coast of Australia, and one goes off to New Zealand. But they all come up here, all the pregnant cows come up here to give birth up at a place called Platypus Bay, right in the northern, eastern, western side of Fraser Island, up around Harvey Bay area. All these water, these little streams you can see running out here, these are freshwater springs. You see this black sand up the beach here? That's what the town of Rainbow Beach was first settled for. The sand miners were the first ones to settle here in 1969. They were after that black sand. That's full of minerals called rutile, ilmenite and zircon. The rutile is what they were after. It's full of titanium oxide. They get the titanium out. Back in the 60s, all the big sand mining companies here were predominantly American owned. You can start seeing quite a few different shades in through this little area here. This is where a spring has developed up underneath, and there's actually, we won't stop here, we'll stop up further because it gets a bit wet up in there, and if you get it on you, you won't get off. Oxide is the basis of paint, so if you do get it on you, it will stain and you get it all over you. Just up ahead here, you'll see some of the colours will go into the real dark ochres, umbers and siennas. They can get quite rich. All these oxides are exactly the same as the oxides the Aboriginals use in the outback for all their cave paintings. The same oxides, mixed with a bit of water, you do have the basis of paint. And the Aboriginals used to, even the local Aboriginals here used to come and collect these. Our local Aboriginal tribe here is the Gubbi tribe, the same tribe you guys have down Caboolture area. They have basically an area of land from the Brisbane River north right up to here. Yeah. You can even see where this bit of rain has washed it just down in front of us here onto the actual beach mixed with a bit of water. Well, there's not too much to worry you here. Probably the blue bottles would be the worst stinger we get here. Other than that, it's fairly safe swimming all along here. This particular beach along here is very safe swimming. There's no rips, no undertows. On the other side of Double Island Point, or the southern side, is the beach called Tiwa Beach. It is not a very safe swimming beach at all, that one. It's full of rips, it's full of undercurrents. There's been a few drownings over there, but it is a very, very good fishing beach. And most of your good fishing beaches aren't safe swimming beaches for that reason.
I think that's what it predicts.
From Rainbow to Double Island Point's about 14 kilometres, and going the other direction to Inskip Point's about 13, so it's roughly about 27 kilometres long, this particular beach. The southern beach on the southern side of Double Island Point down to Noosa is about 75 kilometres, that one. This is actually a piece of coloured sand that the ocean, we just picked this up off the beach, that the ocean has come over and washed most of the sand out and left basically just the mineral left. Oh, right. So this is basically what we got up here after the ocean has taken the sand off it. It is quite solid. They are just full of minerals, mainly zircon, ilmenites and rutiles. There are quite a few other coloured sands around as well. Souvenir for you. Okay, as you can see with these colours, as soon as they get a little bit of water in with them, you do get the basis of paint. Same as the Aboriginals used to do with themselves. Who wants a cuddle? It's just about the same as the Aboriginals used to do. With a little bit of Aboriginal artwork. Just watch the cars, guys, coming through. But the most predominant colours, like you say, are the oxides, ochres and umbers. But all mixed with a bit of water creates a beautiful bit of artwork. You do get these on you, it is like a rusty oxide, so you do get it on your clothes. It is very hard to remove. You'll see just up ahead here, you've still got the colours in the sand. As we go up here, you see the colours stop. That's because your natural tidal flow, by the time your natural currents come up here, bring those minerals around the point and deposited them, starts about here. So from here up is just normal sand. It's like a silica sand. Now, as you can see cars driving along the beach down here heading around. You can't get all the way to the point around there. There's a big breakaway from the lagoon, quite deep. Where that last car's parked is about as far as you can drive up. You can see where the wet sand is up here to our right. So on high tide, this is a big massive tidal flush through here. This feeds this big lagoon. This is all part of it, but the big lagoon's up ahead here. Now I'm going to have to give it. I'll get around this one first, and we're going to have to give it a little bit of speed to get through some of this soft stuff. Captain Cook named this wide bay. He also named that the Carlo Sandblow after his cabin boy on the Endeavour. His name was Carlo. He named pretty well everything through here. Double Island Point he named for its actual featural look from out at sea. He named the Carlo Sandblow. The only thing he didn't name coming through here was Fraser Island. You can't quite see it today. It's behind those big rain cloud over there. But he missed it. From out to sea it looked like it all joined up and it was all part of the mainland. It wasn't until many years later that Matthew Flinders actually come through. He named Fraser Island. But that Carlo Sandblow down there, scientists have come up with a theory on that. They can't prove this, but it's just a theory they've come up with. They believe it may have started through a lightning strike. Might have only been a few feet wide. With the amount of mineral content that's through there, it's sound feasible. They've actually measured how much sand is in there. There's about 17 hectares of sand through there. And they believe it could have been there for up to 1,000 years. But again, this is just a theory they've come up with. But it's quite a unique piece of landscape from a distance. So that's been there since Captain Cook. That hasn't changed much since Captain Cook came through here. The Aboriginal story is a little bit different to what the scientists say. They have what they call a dreamtime story. And it goes a little bit like this. They say many years ago, these dunes weren't here. And there was an Aboriginal hunter by the name of Burwilla. And there was an Aboriginal maiden from another tribe who used to walk along this beach singing to the rainbow. Eventually she fell in love with the rainbow. One day the evil hunter, whose name was Burwilla, come and stole Marrawar off this beach and took her back to his camp and made her do all the work around the camp while he sat under a tree carving out a giant killing boomerang. They say the boomerang was as big as the biggest tree in the bush. One day Marrawar escaped, took off down this beach to run away from Burwilla, but he chased after her. He couldn't catch her, and the Aboriginal legend goes that he threw the giant killing boomerang at her to try and kill her. But the rainbow came down with a clap of thunder and intercepted the boomerang and smashed it into a million pieces, forming all the cliffs along here. Tragically, the impact also killed the rainbow, and the rainbow fell onto the cliffs, creating all the colours in the sand. That's the legend of the Gubbi Gubbi tribe. There are a couple of other legends going around, as in the Burshella tribe from over on Fraser Island, but some of them are a little bit gorier, and this one is quite a nice story, yeah. Okay, Rainbow Beach is a fairly casual atmosphere. They try and do that for a reason. We do get a high volume of campers and tourists through here. We have a 3-storey limit in town, nothing built over 3 stories. We don't really want that. Does keep a lot of the big developers away. We don't have any traffic lights in town at all. There's only one stop sign in town. A lot of the locals cracked up about that when it went in. But that just to give it that relaxed atmosphere when people come away camping. You don't want to be driving through traffic lights. And it can get quite busy in town here, believe it or not. We're talking about being in the cities. Not as busy as it does in the cities, of course, but we do get quite a high volume of traffic through here, especially in our peak season, which is the Christmas New Year week and the Easter break. We can get to around about 4,500 campers over on between Freshwater and Tiwa campgrounds. Another 3,000 campers down at Inskip Point. Another 3,000 campers down at Carlo Point. Probably a couple of thousand in at the big caravan park right in the middle of town. Not to mention the Fraser Island traffic coming through, and that can get up to 25,000 on it in the peak season. So that is a lot of 4-wheel drives coming through town. And the majority of the Fraser Island traffic does come through Rainbow Beach because we're only about 700 metres across from Inskip Point. It drops you right onto the eastern beach, which is a nice sandy beach, just like we've driven along today, all the way up on top of Fraser. Where if you do go across from Harvey Bay, you do go on to the over to the western beach, which there's a lot of mud flats up through there. It's all called the Sandy Straits. Brisbane's about a 3-hour drive from here on average. Medical, we do have a medical centre here in town. We do have a local doctor now. We do have a major hospital in Gympie and the Sunshine Coast, of course, which is not far from here. Gympie's about a 45-minute drive. Sunshine Coast about a 2-hour drive roughly. But yeah, we do have even we've gone probably a little bit flash since you've been here last. We even got a police station in town here now. So we do have a few things happening, yeah. Very minimal crime here. It's pretty well, we only have about 1,100 locals live in town. And everybody sort of knows everybody in these little communities. And I've been coming here since about 1973 camping, and just fell in love with the place back then and decided we wanted to live here, you know. It's a good place to work. Weekends and holiday times you can earn your money here and earn a few dollars, and the rest of the year is fairly quiet, and you can enjoy the peaceful, the tranquility, the camping, the boating. Excellent boating all up through here. Reasonably good fishing, good crabbing. It's got pretty well everything here. It's going for it, you know. These are probably the most popular campgrounds in southeast Queensland, if not all of Queensland around this area. They pull out of quite a large area here, all from Gold Coast, Brisbane, out west to say Toowoomba, Roma, far up as north as Rocky, down to Bundaberg, Harvey Bay, all come to the campgrounds around here. So it pulls out of quite a big area, anything within a few hour drive, yeah. Most of the campgrounds are, especially the ones over at Tiwa here, very popular. Very, I wouldn't say none, but very minimal mosquitoes and sandflies. Nothing that really bothers you overnight. All run by national parks, so you do come under national park protection. Any bad weather or cyclones or whatever coming down the coastline, they'll come and let you know at the campgrounds. Tell you either batten down or leave, you know. It is very good camping along here. It's such a close proximity to everywhere really along there. It's what they call a RAM area now. Stands for Recreational Area Management. RAM areas were first introduced by national parks to sort of assist the police when areas where you get a large influx of tourists with very minimal police in remote areas. So it's classed as a RAM area, so the national park rangers do have a little bit more power here than they do in most national parks. They can actually detain you, fine you, and they actually have now the power to the low water mark, whereas prior to that they only had it to the high water mark. Yeah. So things have changed a little bit through here. Mainly they've done that because of the high influx of tourism. As southeast Queensland grows, especially the Sunshine Coast end, it just gets busier and busier around here. Do you want to go and see these soldier crabs? Okay, when we go to the lighthouse today, we've still got the key to the gate. We're going to drive 95% of the way up. I think last time we may have driven all the way up with you. Can't drive all the way this time. A lot of these people would be day trippers from down the Sunshine Coast. Car on the water. This is called the Leisure Track. It's only about 700 metres across here. This is going to take us over to the southern side of Double Island Point. Now it'll probably be a little bit blowy over here. We were on the leeward side of the wind this side, so it's going to be more open over here. Not very safe swimming, as I said, on this side, but very good for fishing. Cars go all over the place in the sand. You see some of them, they're just going where they want to go. That's why I stop and wait sometimes. I've been slid into before. Okay, this is Tiwa Beach. It's a little bit woollier over here, as you can see, a bit wilder. Not very safe swimming over here at all. Going to relock that gate. The dingoes have chased pretty well most of the other wildlife out of the bush through here. They're out more to the pine plantations out of town. Out through there there's roos, wallabies, kangaroos, yeah, wild pigs. We have about 750 wild brumbies in the area now. Wild horses. This is Double Island Point we're on top of now. Straight behind me here is the beach that's called Tiwa Beach. It runs for 75 kilometres all the way down to Noosa Heads. Normally from here we can see Noosa quite easily, but it's a little bit overcast and rainy today. This is a volcanic headland we're standing on. It is the core of an old volcano, Double Island Point. All the rock you can see all the way around is just volcanic rock. This particular headland or point was named Double Island Point by Captain Cook in 1770. He came through here. He never landed here. He was actually camped here overnight, about 3 nautical miles offshore here. He did most of his charting of the east coast here through a telescope. The lighthouse is still an active working lighthouse. This lighthouse here became fully automated in 1991. Still an active working lighthouse. Most lighthouses are at turning points. This is a particular turning point to the Wide Bay Bar, which is just up around inside Wide Bay ahead here. The keepers here, that it was a pretty remote area back in 1884 when it was first built. All the actual moulding and everything of this lighthouse was done over in England, and it was just shipped here and all riveted together very quickly. Last time you were here, it would have been known as the Kalula National Park, and Fraser was known as the Fraser Island National Park. About 3 years ago they combined them together now, and they call it now the Great Sandy National Park. Wow. And together it's the largest vegetated sand dune system that's still intact in the world. You remember these dunes go all the way down to Noosa. They're over 100 kilometres deep. These cliffs have been caused over the last couple of ice ages when the sea level, all the inland rivers and lakes froze over and caused the sea level to drop. They've actually found fossils and shell grit much further inland through here. This was all underwater at one stage as well. Okay, we stopped here to have a look at this Strangler fig here. This is called a Strangler fig. We've got a couple here. This one on the left is quite an old one. It's around what we call a Saturday turpentine. The one on the right here is around a brush box. It's a much younger Strangler. Now stranglers usually start through birds eating the actual fig themselves. And stranglers work a little bit different to most plants. Most plants and trees start on the ground and work their way up, whereas strangler starts in the top of the tree and works its way down. The strangler will germinate right up in the top in a fork somewhere. It'll start wrapping itself around the tree, attaching itself to the tree and working down till the root system comes down and attaches itself then into the ground. You can see by the big vines at the back of this one, or the big roots that are coming into the ground, this is quite an old strangler. It will keep doing that until it actually kills the tree. If you look at the base on this tree, it's quite rotten. The tree is right at the end of its lifespan. One on the right here is much younger. The roots are into the ground, but it will end up probably in about another 70 or 80 years, end up about the same as this one. This tree is about 600 years old. The strangler on that would be close to 100 years old. Now once the tree dies, there's still got green leaves up here, so the tree is still alive. It could last another couple of years, 10 years, could last another 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we don't know. But once it does die, the strangler can hold them up for some time. But usually through some big winds or a storm coming through, they'll end up crashing down and will end up being pushed up into the bush, a bit like this one over here that is down in the bush. Probably come off that stump up there, but it's just nature's way. All the palms we have through here, these are all called picker-bean palms. They're all quite tall, all stretching for a little bit of sunlight. all the camouflagey looking colours and the whitish looking trees all down through here are called a white birch, used a lot in furnishing timbers years ago. See a big tall brown one stretched up there, it's got a bit of a rough looking bark to it. That's a Kauri pine, the same as the New Zealand Kauri, which is spelt K-A-U-R-I. Not to be misinterpreted with the Kauri tree of Western Australia, which is a hardwood. You'll never see a strangler on the Kauris because they continually lose their bark and it can't germinate into the actual tree. But you will see, as we go through here a little bit further, you will see a lot of trees down. Being in sand dunes, they do come down quite easily. Look at a couple over through here. You see this one just to the right of our car here. It's only being held up by a couple of small palms here. Just up with the Aborigines used to use these palm fronds as part of their bush tucker. The palm fronds taste a bit like they tell me, I haven't tried them, but they tell me they taste a bit like the heart of a lettuce. Quite bitter, but quite edible. Same as these, the whitish trees, the white birch, they get a red berry which is quite edible through here as well. So there is a bit of bush tucker through the area here. Alright, that's about it. Got a shower just coming through, we might actually pile in before we get a bit wet.
So this was our trip to Rainbow Beach. We started our tour at noon after a 3-hour journey from Brisbane. We learnt that on one weekend, we are able to see the coloured sands of Rainbow Beach during the morning hours, and on every other weekend, we can see them in the afternoon. The viewing is dependent on the timings of the tide. We were able to see the coloured sands, Carlo Sandblow, Soldier Crabs, Tiwa Beach, the Lighthouse, Sand Dune Forest, and unique Strangler figs. Unfortunately, we did not get a chance to visit the little township of Rainbow Beach today, as this was a day trip from Brisbane. There is a lot more for us to see in this area, which we will inshallah show you soon. And on that note, we will inshallah be back with another journey from MTA International Studios, Australia. Please remember us in your prayers. Till then, Allah Hafiz.